What's not to watch? They're the best at what they do, and I'm the best at what I do, and together it's like, it's on.
Is it the best?
Best there ever was. Best there is now, best there ever will be.
And then when I walked down the street, people would have looked and they would have said, there goes Roy Hobbs. The best there ever was in this game.
In case some of you wonder who the best is, they're up here on this plaque on the wall.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home to the prom queen.
The best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois live with you on a Thursday evening. We are here.
Right in the heart of playoffs.
Yeah, we are here in the middle of playoffs. We are aware that there are games going on as we speak. Or a game, excuse me, multiple games. One game going on as we speak. Houston is trying to hold on against Philadelphia in the second leg of that series in the MLS playoffs. But, you know, there wasn't really a window on Wednesday. You got to pick your time. There are rosters today, Jared. We have to talk about rosters. We couldn't ignore them. We couldn't skip it. Couldn't wait until Sunday. We have to give the people a chance.
We could even wait till our third segment. I mean, we said we have to do it off the top. I mean, who doesn't want to talk roster talk? And it's not too much different than what we've seen a lot of. And I think that in itself is the story, isn't it?
I think that's, well, the story. There's a couple of stories. One, it's a lot of the same things, and some of those things are troubling. Two, some of the same people we've been calling for that we keep expecting to see are not showing up. Guys that are performing aren't showing up. This is just, I don't know. I feel like the foundation is shaking. Not that I think Jurgen Klinsmann had a ton of the complete confidence of the fan base the last couple of months. But this is like a serious shaking of the foundation, at least for people who are paying attention, because
there's two names in particular though that everyone's getting upset about, and it's not names that are on the roster, it's names that aren't on the roster. And once again, I'm beating the dead horse. I know it's me, but I think everyone else is on board with me now. Herculez Gomez is still not on this roster.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How
and
is
the
this
other
happening?
one, the other one, I'm not personally as upset about this as some people are, was Omar Gonzalez.
Okay, he's young. He's very talented. He might win Defender of the Year this year, and possibly. I think it's a good point. And our friend Matt at Shin Guardian made this point on Twitter today. If Omar Gonzalez wins Defender of the Year and doesn't have a national team call-up under Jurgen Klinsmann, what does that say about Jurgen Klinsmann and his view of MLS? And
that the Bundesliga kicks
and
its butt.
Where's George John? And I mean, there's a lot of questions here. We haven't gone down the actual roster. I don't know if everybody's seen it. Maybe we should read it out just to give. We'll do it quickly. But
okay.
And I do want to get to a guy that's in it that is frustrating people. That's still upsetting people. And I think I know who I'm talking about there. And the fact, if there's no Herculez Gomez, you can say, all right, if he's looking to the future, I understand why there's no Herculez Gomez, despite the fact he's scoring buckets of goals in Mexico. But there's an Edson.
Who would want something like that?
But there's an Edson Buttle in this team. How does that make any sense? How do you say we're not taking Herculez Gomez? Because I'm not saying he's too old. I'm saying if that's the opinion of Jurgen Klinsmann and why he's not calling up Herculez Gomez, that's understandable. But you don't call Edson Buttle, and maybe that's just a proximity thing. I don't know. Jonathan is on the air with us. How are you, Jonathan?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Is this like a regular thing for you now? Are you our first caller pretty much every week?
Pretty much, man. Like, I don't know.
Jonathan is like the second most popular name in the world. It could be a different one.
No, it's the same one.
I got his last name here, too.
I was giving you a way out, John.
He was trying to make you sound like less of a complete and utter soccer nerd, but that's fine. It's okay to be a soccer nerd.
I was in school today, actually. I was like in class. I was like waiting for the rosters, and Boca just going through all these questions. I was like, just get to the lineup already.
Yeah. That was the other
interesting way to reveal, wasn't it?
That was the interesting thing today, is they give control of the Twitter account to Carlos Bocanegra, and then he proceeds to leak these names out over the course of what? It was at least an hour. I'm guessing. I mean, I was sitting at work trying to follow along, but it was at least an hour. And I'm assuming they were cueing him. Okay, now it's time for the goalkeepers. Now it's time for the defenders. All right, now you can do the midfielders. I mean, it was frustrating. It was maddening. What's your biggest beef here, Jonathan? Everybody's got a beef.
I mean, my number one beef has to be Robbie Rogers. I mean,
okay.
This guy, I mean, he isn't. Let's get this straight. Doesn't even do that much in the MLS. I don't get why he continuously gets the call up. Like, there's so many other options that we could see. Like, we could have seen a Herculez Gomez. I mean, there's so many others, and I was just shocked by that.
Well, you're not. I mean, it's not a straight swap, Herculez Gomez for Robbie Rogers. I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. That how can a guy that deserves it, like Herculez Gomez, be left out when a guy who hasn't done that much for an MLS team gets in? And I just went through this whole thing about how if Omar Gonzalez wins Defender of the Year and isn't called in, that says something about Klinsmann's view of MLS. But at the same time, he's calling in Robbie Rogers. Logic is not working here. You cannot look at this roster and try to figure out logically. And that was the other thing about Boca's reveal. Thanks for the call, Jonathan. Is that you saw a bunch of names, Jared, or you saw a couple names, and you scratched your head and you said, okay, well, he's not calling in Omar Gonzalez because he did it was goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards. He's not calling in Omar Gonzalez because Omar Gonzalez is on a team that's still alive in the MLS playoffs, and the Galaxy could conceivably be an MLS Cup a week after the Europe trip. Maybe that's why he's not calling them in or calling him in.
Stop Landon Donovan from getting added to the team, though.
Exactly. Then he calls Landon Donovan, and you're like, wait a second. Then Kyle Beckerman's in this team.
Beckerman?
What's going on here? Why are my logical reasoning for why certain guys aren't in this team, why isn't it working? And it's not working because Jurgen Klinsmann, I don't know, he's out of his, he's completely lost. I don't get it because I don't see how anybody can watch the guys he's picked and think they're the best players. I just don't.
I understand. I think I understand a little bit of it. Maybe consistency breeds form. Maybe that's part of it. But to totally negate the value of a player that's hot or a player that's in form already, I think really brings suspicion on your decision making. And to then again also you're going to bring in someone like Fabian Johnson, who has no experience with this team. I don't mean to discount Fabian Johnson. He's probably a very good player. He plays in the Bundesliga. I'm sure he's got great qualities, but there's no chemistry, no background on the U.S. national team, and you're going to look away from players that have established relationships with the U.S. national team and are in good form. It's just mind-boggling to me. And I actually today, I came up with, if I had any artistic ability whatsoever, I have an idea for basically like a political cartoon for soccer. You get your boy Chris Toy at Studs Up over there to give me a shout out on this and draw this up for me.
Okay.
In my mind, I have a one-panel cartoon where it's you see Herculez Gomez sitting in an apple tree dressed as Sir Isaac Newton. Okay. The ground is littered with soccer balls underneath, and he's dropping them one by one out of the tree.
Okay.
And then off to the side is Jurgen Klinsmann with his arms crossed with a thought bubble saying, "I'm still not convinced."
Okay. I think that was a long way to go for no payoff, but I appreciate the effort.
Wow. That's what I get for going highbrow.
Here's another one, and this was a big bone of contention on Twitter today as well when the roster came out. Who did we think we were done with? Who did we think that Klinsmann had finally worked out of his system? Who were we afraid was going to be Klinsmann's Jonathan Bornstein? And then he went away for a little while, and we kind of all took a deep breath and went, okay, he finally got it. He's not good enough. Who's that guy?
Well, two people in general. One of them was Edgar Castillo, who's still out, but the other one, Michael Orozco-Fiscal.
Michael Orozco-Fiscal. I believe that we have a voicemail that somebody left for us today, specifically about that player. Let's see if I can get this up.
Michael Orozco-Fiscal. Michael freaking Orozco-Fiscal. Jesus.
That's it. I think it's straight and to the point.
That pretty much says it all, doesn't it?
What? Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. I think that, I don't know, if we had to rate this, and this is really difficult. There was a top 5 biggest, bitch items, biggest beefs with Klinsmann on this roster. What are they? Orozco-Fiscal is 1. Robbie Rogers is 2. These are in no particular order.
No, Edgar Castillo 3.
No. I mean on this specific roster.
Oh, on this specific roster?
Yeah.
Those 2. No Herculez Gomez.
No Herculez Gomez. No Omar Gonzalez. That's 4 right there. What's the 5th one?
I don't know. After that, I think it's a little bit of personal preference after that point. Maybe Alfredo Morales. I mean, nobody really knows much about this player. He's a defender plays for Hertha Berlin in Germany.
Right.
Would be a first-time player on this team.
But,
I can't really discount the guy. I don't know enough about him to discount him. Obviously, playing in a good league. I'm anxious to see him, but if you're really trying to pick hairs, I guess that's one you could pull out.
I mean, he's a guy that hasn't had much time.
Or how about the fact there's only 2 true strikers on this team?
Yeah. I mean, the strikers are a little bit of a question. Did they listed Donovan as a forward this time, which we know he's not. We know he's not going to play. I mean, it's possible. I guess it's possible, and that's the other thing. I mean, we mentioned that there was some reasoning that said, well, maybe he's not taking Gonzalez because of MLS playoffs, but he's got Donovan, he's got Beckerman. If these guys, whoever continues through, let's say LA, for the sake of argument, makes MLS Cup final, they are going to be released after the first game. Is that right? And then have a 9-day break before the MLS Cup final. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, how would you feel if Landon Donovan went to Europe for a week or whatever that is, 5 days, and they had to come back and play MLS Cup final? Would you feel comfortable with that? I mean, here's the worst case scenario. He goes to Europe and breaks a leg. I mean, for national team fans, that's a disaster. But for Galaxy fans,
it's got to be they must have made a really good deal with the club teams on this. I'm not sure what that is, but for 2 teams to potential MLS Cup finalist teams to both give up their captains. Let's be honest here. These are the 2 captains of Real Salt Lake and LA Galaxy. There must have been some kind of talks there regarding this. And luckily, we're going to have one of the coaches of the 2 teams coming up on the show in a couple minutes, Jason Kreis. Hopefully we can ask him and see what goes into a decision like this.
Mm-hmm. Top of the next segment, Jason Kreis. Well, I definitely got to ask him about that. How would he feel if they beat whoever comes out of the LA New York series? Because as we sit, we don't know who's going to be in the Western Conference final. But let's say they make it to MLS Cup final. How is he going to feel if his captain is gone and has to come back and readjust? And I mean, I don't know.
It's a bit of it seems like his priorities are a bit mixed up. I mean, you're telling me that Landon Donovan can't stay home and get ready for MLS Cup, and you could just bring in Herculez Gomez and play striker. It's amazing, the decision making.
Just real quick as we get ready to close out this segment, Altidore. This is alphabetically: Altidore, Beasley, Beckerman, Bocanegra, Bradley, Buttle. Buttle's the first one I have any issue there. Timmy Chandler, Cherundolo, Dempsey, Donovan, Adu, Goodson, Hamid, Howard, Fabian Johnson, Jermaine Jones, Alfredo Morales is the guy that nobody knows at the moment. Aguchi Onyewu, Michael freaking Orozco Fiscal, Robbie Rogers, Breck Shea, and Danny Williams. I mean, most of this is a decent squad. It's just a couple of those spots. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And again, the omissions, I think. Orozco Fiscal, the omissions, Robbie Rogers, it's nuts. It's just nuts. There is no way to talk yourself into thinking that this is the best U.S. roster. I just can't see it.
I don't see it either, but we'll talk about it more, I think, after we get done with our topic with Jason Kreis.
Let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll talk to Jason Kreis on the other side of this little break. It's the Best Soccer Show, NASN.TV. Don't go anywhere.
Don't have time to trawl across the internet for all your North American soccer news? Why not watch NASN News Monday to Friday? We'll update you on what's making the headlines in Major League Soccer, the CONCACAF Champions League, and the U.S. national team. We'll also keep you up to date on how American and Canadian players are doing in other professional leagues worldwide, and a whole lot more. Visit nasn.tv/news to see our latest episodes, and make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube.
Jason Davis, Jared Dubois back on the Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network. We're joined right now by head coach Jason Kreis of Real Salt Lake. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Not too bad. First off, got to talk about last night. Seemed to be a bit of a struggle, certainly more than the first leg of that series. Talk a little bit about what went right and what went wrong for you guys. And, obviously the good thing is you pulled it out in the end.
Yeah, it's obvious the result was what went right for us, and the fact that we made just enough good defensive plays to keep ourselves alive in this playoff race, in this cup race. What went wrong? It wasn't a great night for us soccer-wise. Credit to Seattle. They did a fantastic job of pressuring us and throwing all kinds of numbers forward and making the night difficult for us. On top of that, the surface and the weather, I think, made it really, really difficult for us to keep the ball at all. And our guys just didn't do a good enough job of completing that first pass in transition that might have gained us some space and got us into our opponent's half of the field. So because of that, we spent almost the entire 90 minutes defending.
You go into this game with a 3-0 lead. How do you even practice or get into the mindset of how to defend a three-goal lead for a 90-minute span? It isn't something that players get exposed to a lot. Would you do anything in training to try to prepare for that type of situation?
Well, I think there are things you could do in training, but the difficult point that we're in right now in the season, the playoffs, the way they're set up, is that we only have a couple days between games. So we literally had one training session. That training session happens the day before the game. You can't have the guys out there doing too much. So tactically, it was a difficult situation for us. We tried to go into it with the mindset that we had a 1-goal lead. I wanted my team to play as if they didn't have a whole lot of extra room, a whole lot of extra cushion there. Just mentally, I think that we needed to approach it like it was a 1-0 game, and then we would have 3 chances to play with that 1-0 lead. And ultimately, we got the job done, but it certainly wasn't pretty, and it wasn't the way I had drawn it up.
Well, you were obviously missing 2 of your stalwarts. James Nalave and Nat Borchers were out for that game. Talk about the guys that filled in and the job they did. I mean, it wasn't perfect, obviously, but like you said, the weather and not having the ball. Talk about how those guys stepped in and filled the void.
Yeah, I think we saw how important those 2 players can be for us. Just a steadying influence we have back there and the cleanness we have back there when they're clearing up things. But to be fair, I think it was going to be a difficult night for any defender to play there at Seattle with the conditions, with the rain and the turf and how many numbers they were sending forward, and the wind was swirling as well. It was a difficult night to get things cleared out cleanly and a difficult night to complete those passes that might have changed the game for us a little bit. The 2 fellows that stepped in there is Chris Winger, who comes in from the outside back, and Chris Schuler. Chris Schuler, on every time he stepped in spot duty for us, has done a fantastic job. But you see where he's missing that other guy next to him, that steadying influence in a Borchers or an Olave that we've typically had this year. And then Chris Wingert is a leader on this team, and he stepped in and did an admirable job, but I think made a few errors just organizationally wise and tactical wise because he hasn't played center back in a very long time.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that Chris Wingert was a Herman Trophy Award-winning center back for St. John's. But like you said, it's been a long time since he's played there. But Schuler, being 24, obviously one of your young and up-and-coming players, stepped up to the occasion as he had to the game before. Also, Luis Gil, young player. These are 2 young players that you as a coach are trusting to go into one of the biggest pressure environments that you guys are going to see all season long. What does it say about those players and the fact that they're ready and with so little experience, only 2 years, I believe, between the 2 of them, to talk about how they're able to be mature beyond their years?
Yeah, it's an impressive thing right now. Chris Schuler is a player that we never had dreamt would have made these kind of contributions that he's made this year. Last year he had some spot duty just at the end of the season. We really liked what we saw, and then he suffered a broken foot. He came in this year and has made contributions throughout the entire year. Just played in some really important matches for us and played some really important minutes in big games and has always stepped up for us. And so he's a player now that we have no hesitation about. We don't look at him as a young player anymore. He's had enough experience now that he's ready for any situation. And then Luis Gil is also a player I think that's a little bit ahead of the track. We really thought last year, I would have told you if you'd asked me at this time last year, I would have told you that he probably wouldn't contribute much this year, but we would be looking for great things in his 3rd year. And so for him to make the contributions he has this year, that's all credit to him. And he's proven us wrong a little bit and shown us that he's ready to make contributions for the rest of his career. He's a fantastic potential.
Now, Coach, you talked about obviously the first leg being halftime. It's a 2-legged series. You got 180 minutes to play. After the first game, that's only halftime. So over the course of the entire 80 minutes, your biggest plays seemed to be the 3rd goal, the Grabavoy goal in the first leg, and then the save off the line by Tony Beltran in the second leg. Those are pretty much why you are sitting where you're sitting, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, when Ned Grabavoid scored the goal the other night, the third goal, the coaching staff was kind of reacting to it, and one of the assistants said that could be absolutely huge for us because we had already known that Borchers was going to be down and Olave was going to be down. And I didn't realize how critical it was. And I was more pleased with just the individual performance and was pleased for him to get a goal for us at such an opportune time. But it turns out that it's critical. And then the Tony Beltran play was obviously a special play. And you need guys to make special plays in these critical situations. So I always tell these guys that in the biggest of games, we need the big players to make big plays. And Beltran made a big one for us the other night.
Now you're gonna not being the home team for this for most of the playoffs from this point on, unless New York wins the next round. If LA wins, obviously you're gonna be traveling again. What does the amount of energy that had to be expended on Wednesday night up in Seattle, is that something that you really have to be is one of the biggest hurdles for you guys going into the game on Sunday? That was a lot of emotion, a lot of physical wear in the elements, and potential two travel days coming up in the next week. Is that going to be one of the unsung factors in the matchup for Sunday?
It could be, but let's face it. I mean, it's all there to play for tonight. Who knows what's going to happen tonight? You know, LA could be stretched to an overtime. LA could lose. It could be, you know, a knockdown drive at a fair. We could have injuries. You know, there's a lot of things that are still left to be solved here tonight. And you know, in some ways, I think that maybe this last game was a good thing for us because I think it should ground us a little bit. And it should say, yeah, Saturday night for us at home was fantastic, but last night wasn't so good. So we need to get back to doing all the little things that we have to do in order to succeed.
What's the current status of Olave and Borchers?
They're both questionable and will be questionable all the way up until game time.
At this point, Coach, do you think it seems to be a trend this year? I mean, the playoffs are a tense affair no matter what year we're talking about. But this year specifically, it seems like the physical play, maybe a little bit of the handbags and the pushing and shoving is at a higher level. I think the playoffs are a little too physical at this point.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think what happens is that you have a lot of mandates that are handed down by referees and referees committees about what they're going to call and what they're going to put up with and what they're not and what they're going to be strict on. And then you get to playoff times and it seems like it all goes out the window. I mean, this is the third time in 2 matches that we've had players pushed over or choked, and the referee done nothing about it. So I just think that for some reason, referees and committees, and I don't know whether it's coming from the league, but they forget that there's still rules in the game, and we all need to abide by those.
Do you have to have talks with your players beforehand about composure when these type of things happen at the end of the game? I mean, you see the way the Galaxy players reacted, and you've got to think that they have too much to lose when you've won 1-0 away in the first round of the playoffs. Do you have conversations with your players about these type of things, or do you just assume it's something as a professional player that they should have ingrained in them already?
Well, I think that there's a certain amount of assumption that they've been through situations like these before and can handle them. But it is something that we speak about. In particular, going through CONCACAF last year, it was something that we had to remind our players every single game that you're going to be faced with some difficult referee decisions and you're going to be tested by your opponent in some ways that you aren't typically tested. And we need to stay calm and we need to stay disciplined. That's something that you control. You control your own emotions and nobody else does. And so it is something that we talk about. But at the end of it all, these guys are emotional about what they're doing, and they're grown men. And so if they feel that they've been disrespected or they get in the heat of the moment, they're going to make mistakes just like anybody else would.
Coach, with the balance of power being so much to the west of MLS at this point, and I know you've had some comments about this before, the playoff structure seems to be a hot topic. LA has to travel to New York. You guys have to face off with Seattle, the second seed in the league. In the first round, in your first round, talk about the MLS playoff structure as it exists, and maybe what you think is maybe a better setup, or if you just have some thoughts on where the league should go when they add a team next year.
You know, for me, it's simple. I guess I'm beyond believing that the conferences matter. I understand why they did it at the beginning, and they were wanting to foster all of these rivalries amongst teams. But we're at a point in our league right now where the rivalries are there. We don't need to foster them or fan them anymore. They're there. They're not going anywhere. You know, Real Salt Lake doesn't like Colorado. New York doesn't like DC. And San Jose doesn't like LA, and on, and LA doesn't like Chivas. And Dallas doesn't like Houston. They're there. We don't need to be worried about it anymore, and that was the reason that we wanted to start with the conferences. For me, there's no reason to do that anymore. We have a balanced schedule, and so the playoffs should reflect that balanced schedule and should reward teams for doing well in the regular season and should punish teams for not doing well in the regular season. And so, it's my belief that LA should have played the very last seed that had gotten in, and Seattle should have played the last seed that had gotten in, and we should have played the next one after that. That's a fair and just system, in my opinion. And as I said before the series even started, I really feel sorry for Seattle because they were 10 points ahead of us. I mean, they were clearly the second best team in the league this year, and now they're out in the first round of the playoffs. And I think all that solely comes down to who they had to face in the first round.
Coach, one quick question before we get you out of here, just to change up gears for a second. U.S. national team roster gets released today. Kyle Beckerman's on it. Is there any talks between U.S. Soccer and the MLS team, such as yourself and perhaps even Galaxy, who also have Landon Donovan called up to the team? Is there any conversation that go back and forth before that happens? Because you have a lot on the line, and there's two captains of these two teams are being called in to maybe make an appearance for the national team.
Yeah, I believe that there was some discussion and some negotiation because there was 2 games, and I think it's already been released that if either of those 2 players or both, well, I guess they can't both be called up with conflict with the MLS Cup, but if either of them are to be called up and to still be in the final, then the national team, U.S. Soccer, has already said that they would not keep them there for the second game. So there has been a negotiation, and the good thing I think about having Jurgen there this now, that's different than it ever has been in the past. And my personal experience is that we have better communication with the coach, and he appreciates and respects what our priorities are and tries to work with us.
All right, Coach, best of luck moving forward. I'm assuming that you're rooting for New York tonight. That would get you a home game.
Yeah, I'm only rooting for them for the home game, and it has nothing to do with them being the 10th seed and LA being the first seed. It has everything to do with me wanting to play in front of my crowd.
All right, we appreciate the time, Coach. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye. Jason Kreis, head coach, RSL, Real Salt Lake. You know what?
How much would you want to play for that guy?
Oh, no. I mean, well, first of all, how cool and calm is he? And I know we had a couple of questions that we thought about getting in. We just didn't have a chance. Jared wants.
We had fun questions. I had fun questions out there, but the guy's just all business. Maybe it's the haircut. Maybe it's the flat top that lets me think that he's just all business.
He's the total package for me, and I will admit to a massive man crush on Jason Kreis. He looks the part. Because there are so many MLS coaches that don't.
Trench coat. That's why.
It's the whole thing. He knows that he is presenting an image. He was represent. Not that the other coaches don't. I mean, Hans Backe addresses to the nines. Benny Olsen in DC has got it down. There are some guys.
Benny Olsen's the only one. He's the only potential usurper to the Jason Kreis fashion.
I believe this has been discussed on Twitter once or twice. The best dressed MLS coach, and I think. That is Jason. I still think it's Jason Kreis. Benny Olsen has more of a.
But Ben Olsen's on his coattails.
Ben Olsen has
literally
has more of a. They're basically the same age, but Ben Olsen has more of a. It's almost like a younger, hipper vibe. Yeah, it's definitely a hipper vibe.
It's
whereas
skinny tie.
Kreis looks like Kreis looks like he's gonna walk into a boardroom and take your company from you forcibly, and you're not gonna be able to do anything about it.
He looks like he's straight out of Wall Street.
Bend you over, basically.
Yeah, he looks like he's Charlie Sheen's homie from Wall Street or something. Like he definitely plays, and especially when you juxtapose him with someone like Ziggy Schmidt, who just puts a scarf around his neck and walks out in a tracksuit.
Yeah. And there was some discussion. I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention. Apparently, Ziggy was chewing on his scarf last night. Is that his normal thing?
He just kept fidgeting, like bringing it up to his mouth, And
there's a lot of talk about him being the MLS version of Jerry Tarkanian, that's what
chewing on the towel.
Yeah, Tark would chew on the towel back in the '90s for UNLV. All right, let's transition. We're not going to transition. We're going to stay on MLS topics as we speak. The Houston Dynamo have taken a 3-1 aggregate lead on the Philadelphia Union in Houston. That looks like a mountain for Philadelphia to climb now. There was some discussion. I don't know if you saw their lineup. They had Letou in the midfield. They started their forwards. They started Mwanga, and I'm going to have to look up who else they started. Why am I blanking on this? But they definitely went for it. It's just, I don't know. I'm not impressed with what Peter Novak's done. It looks like it's going to be Houston. I mean, I don't want to talk about too much about this game when people are going to listen to this podcast later, but I think it's important because that would mean Houston goes to Sporting Kansas City. I mean, either one of them would.
And I think that's the matchup I'd rather watch, to be honest.
Houston and Sporting Kansas. Well, I mean, I want Philadelphia to win because I picked Philly in this series.
I think I actually picked them as well. But now after watching the first game, I think I'd rather watch Houston play. And that's kind of rough for me because obviously as a Galaxy fan, Houston is a big rival because they came from San Jose. And to me, in my mind, that's still the original San Jose rivalry. It's now in Houston. So, but Phillies just plays a little bit too much of a defensive shelled game for me. I like the way Houston plays. A little more open. I love watching Brad Davis. Brad Davis is just the real deal this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've actually he was my MVP pick. I don't think you could have gone wrong with a couple of different guys this season. That was a debate we didn't really get into too much on this show. I think it's overblown a little bit. I mean, I know MVP is a big deal for certain people, but I wasn't that worried about it. And I thought Brad Davis meant more to his team than D-Row did to DC United. Or a couple of different guys that were out there.
That's
floating
the
around.
fun part about MVP, though. It's an argument. It's a preference.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Speaking of preference, I prefer to watch Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, I know. I want to credit James Clay, and I can't remember his Twitter handle right now. We'd pimp your Twitter account, James. He put this to me on Twitter during the game last night. I think it was last night. Said MLS theme songs, because we've been on that a little bit recently. Jared, your MLS theme song for Sporting Kansas City is "Secret Lover," and I don't have it queued up. I should.
Lie. I think they're kind of my girl on the side.
They are. They definitely are. You've been on.
Like I'm hiding. Like I won't let my wife check my iPhone. Kind of like my girl on the side. Like just in case there's a text from Sporting Kansas City, I can't let the Galaxy check my phone.
Yeah, well, that athletic thing. I mean, because it's obvious they are insanely athletic.
Did you see the CJ Sapong goal? Come on.
No, I know.
The guy hovered in midair.
I know. You gave a little bit of that on Twitter last night. I mean, because he was sky high. He jumped out of the building to get to that one. They are incredibly fun to watch just for that factor alone, because they've got Sapong, because they've got Teal Bunbury, who has already started his playoffs on a hot streak. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Kai Kamara is athletic.
Well. I mean, I was a Kai Kamara hater for years,
right?
But he's really found a niche now, and I think he's come into his own very well. Where he was just so raw, and it just seemed to be like the ultimate GOAT for a long time for Kansas City. And now he's found the components around him. The team has found the components around him to make him successful. Moved him a little bit further away from goal, where he's more of a provider now, and he is excelling in that format.
I heard a brilliant new song that the Kansas City supporters have for Kai Kamara. I saw a YouTube video today. They sang it to him, I guess, at a rally before the game against Colorado. It's Before We Got Kai, and it's to the tune of Because I Got High. It's not bad.
Afro Man. Afro Man.
Yeah. Or no, because we got Kai. I can't remember. It's not bad.
It might be because
clever.
Because we got Kai.
It's clever, and they've got something that we were talking about. People were talking about on Twitter was their shots chants that they do, shots by LMFAO.
I was talking with our boy Foot Fanatico, who we've had on the show before, who wrote a great book about
Elliot, yes.
about Spanish and American influence in the American game. And there's we were talking today about the Sonny and Cher song, I Got You, Babe.
I Got You, Babe.
We're saying how that needs to be involved into more chants, like We Got You, Breck, or something like that. Or
well,
he wanted to do with Gareth Bale, like We Got You, Bale.
Well, it's got to be one syllable, though, because Babe is one syllable. So Breck might work. But that's tough to sing.
But how good would it sound with 10 people singing it?
Yeah, you got to get the crowd. You got to get the crowd singing it. What Kansas City advancing means is that Kansas City will host the Eastern Conference Final. I'm loving that. I love that place. I want to go so badly. It looks like so much fun. They've got an atmosphere. I mean, hopefully they can sustain this. They've done everything right.
I just love that the city has done their part.
They've done everything right.
Up.
They've done everything right up there in Kansas City, and they've turned this around, and they're my pick to go to the MLS Cup Final from the East. So I'm ecstatic that I look good for that pick. But, I mean, talk about the turnaround. I mean, I don't want to get into this much. We got to get out of this break. But they went winless for the first 9 games of the season, if I have that right. And you knew it was going to have to be on them to take advantage of that new stadium, and they did it. And all credit to Peter Vermes, who I don't know that anybody was really convinced about going into this season.
we never really talked about who would be, real quick before we get out, who would be your pick for Coach of the Year? Isn't Pete Vermes really up there?
Yeah, I think he does have to be up there. I think considering what he's done in that turnaround just in this one season, I think he has to be. He's a pretty good pick, and honestly, I can't remember who I picked right now. It's the Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Jason and Jared, Best Soccer Show. Technical struggles. Just can't get out from under them. It's all right, though. This show will be recorded and podcasted, and people will be able to listen back, and hopefully they'll enjoy us talking to Jason Kreis. Got to thank Real Salt Lake for setting that up. Let's go back into U.S. men's national team, Jared. We asked for some opinions on the roster. We've got voicemails. I have not listened to all of these. Let's see what the people have to say.
There could be full of 4-letter words. We don't know right now.
Yeah, they're going to be fun. Let's start. I have no idea. Let's see. This one comes from area code 219. Let's see who this is.
So today's roster, I wasn't too happy about it. Kind of the same basic roster we typically get. I was really upset, though, with Orozco Fiscal and Robbie Rogers getting called back in. They really haven't performed enough, and to warrant another call-in to the U.S. camp. And it's really upsetting to me that, there's so many better players out there, better defenders than Fiscal. Omar Gonzalez, George John. It's really just, it's upsetting. I feel that he's not, Roscoe Fiscal hasn't proven himself worthy of another call-up.
Okay, he's saying a lot of the things that I said.
I blame Jurgen Klinsmann. My man's about to jump off a ledge.
I don't know who that is. Thank you for the call. It's a little
that
low
guy
energy.
Sounds like his girlfriend just broke up with him.
No, you know what it
That's
is.
how much Jurgen Klinsmann is painting him right now.
That's a better story than what I was going to go with. I was going to say that the guy was ducking around a corner at work to make the phone call. He just had to get his opinion in.
He's in the bathroom stalls.
Yeah. He's like, guys.
But he's right. He's saying everything. I mean,
everything we
said. I don't know that there's anyone that doesn't feel the same way. I've yet to see someone come out and say, Klinsmann, got it just right.
Right. No, no one is saying that. Everybody is not angry. I don't think it's right to be angry about a roster for a couple of friendlies. It's just annoying because if you are going to evaluate your talent pool, why do you keep calling in people that have obviously not performed up to the standards of a national team? I don't get it.
I just want to see progression on one or two fronts. If you're not going to progress on the field, and I don't know necessarily that you've seen the U.S. progress on the field. You've seen a different style of play, no problem, but I haven't seen that progression of that style of play. I haven't seen it get consistently better. So if you're not going to see that on the field, then I want to see a progression with who's being called into camp.
Right. You ready for another one?
Do it.
Yeah. Area code 919. Let's hope the energy level is just a little bit better.
Hey, Best Soccer Show. This is Luke Lewell from MLSreserves.com. Looking at the U.S. men's national team roster, I'm wondering who do you think would be there if certain MLS teams were not involved in the playoffs and not going through in the playoffs? So my real question for you is, who is left off the roster? Thanks, boys. Keep up the great work.
Getting his plug in. I like that.
Well, we talked to Jason
Shameless.
Kreis about that a bit, and Kreis did say that the players that are involved that are called in do have the option if they're no longer, if they're still playing, to be opt out of the camp, and that's a good thing to hear. But I guess he's asking for MLS names. Obviously, the other names are easy. We've said a bunch of them, the ones that are outside, especially obviously Gomez. So MLS-wise, Jason, who's been left off the roster?
Who is still involved in the playoffs? Is that what you're saying? Was that
I guess
the question?
kind of. He also said who basically. I think it was two questions. One, people in the playoffs, and I think the other part of his question was just people in MLS in general that aren't getting they're getting overlooked.
Well, MLS in general. I mean, there are 20 guys that you could say at least deserve a shot. George John deserves a shot. We mentioned Omar Gonzalez.
He's got nothing else to do.
I mean, and here's the thing. This goes back to the talk about Alfredo Morales, who, if you haven't heard, let's go ahead and just a little backstory. I mean, I'm not an expert, but this is what I hear. He is Peruvian American raised in Berlin, if I have that right. Okay? So his parents are Peruvian. His dad moved to the States and served in the armed forces, which we know is a fast track kind of thing. Like, that'll help you out if you need to get some citizenship.
I like the words you're using. Peru, Berlin. I like where we're going here.
Yeah,
I think this sounds like a well-rounded guy.
Everybody says he is the perfect Jurgen Klinsmann call-up because he is both Latin, German, and he's eligible for the United States of America. So he's like the perfect
if he fits
guy.
all the qualifications, he shouldn't be getting called in. That's what I've learned about Jurgen Klinsmann so far.
Well, here's the thing about Morales. He could play for Peru. So if you're saying that you want to keep him from playing for Peru, you want him to play for the United States, you're giving him a call-up to entice him to play for the U.S. over Peru, fine. I mean, fine. I don't know. You have spots to waste in a friendly roster? Okay, if you think you do. George John has an option. George John can go play for Greece if he wants to. He's gotten a little bit of interest. They've tested the waters. They've had him at a camp, or at least at a training stint in the States at some point. It was back in the summer. He could go play for Greece. I don't know that he wants to. I think he wants to play for the U.S. But if he's not getting calls up, and this is the same thing with Omar Gonzalez talking about Mexico. I don't think Omar Gonzalez wants to play for Mexico at all. I just think he's frustrated.
How did that shot across the bow work out?
It didn't. And do you think it hurt Omar Gonzalez? Do you think that's possible?
Okay, let's review what Omar Gonzalez has done over the last 2 weeks. Send a shot across the bow saying, "Hey, I might go play for Mexico in case you don't call me in." Did I get him a call up? Nope.
No.
He goes and marks Luke Rogers out of the game in New York. Does that get him a call up? Nope. What's he got left to do? Defender of the year? Will that get him a call up? I don't think so.
I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm frustrated.
I don't necessarily think that Omar Gonzalez is good enough to start for the U.S. national team, but he's good enough to be in the conversation and be in the camp.
Absolutely. And you kick Tim Reed. You don't kick Tim Ream off the team. I don't think that's what happened. But Tim Ream certainly doesn't deserve a call up right now the way he's playing. So if you're going to take out one of the young American defensive central defending prospects that you have that you keep giving shots to, why not give the other one a shot? And again, you can't excuse it away by saying he's in the playoffs. He's not calling guys. Yes, he is. He's calling guys in the playoffs. We know this.
What could it hurt to say? He can call in both Tim Ream and Omar Gonzalez and say, "Hey, whichever one's not playing will be the one that I bring in."
That makes sense to me.
Doing that.
No, that makes absolute sense to me.
We were talking just a second ago about players that have the option to play for the U.S. and whether or not they choose to. We were talking about Alfredo Morales. Talking real quick and change gears just a bit. U.S. under-23 roster is announced, and there's names on that roster that we've been wanting to see for a while in terms of allegiance to the U.S. national team. Number one among them, Joe Corona gets a call in from Zolos to the under-23 national team. It looks like U.S. is basically made the first move in the rights to Joe Corona here with Mexico.
Well, he spent some time. He spent some time in a Mexico camp. My brain is
but
addled
if you go to
by
the Olympics with
technology,
a team, you're going to play under that flag. You're going to hear that national anthem.
No, I agree.
Maybe I think that's a bit of a more concrete kind of feel. And Jurgen Klinsmann has made it very known that you're playing with the under-23s, playing with the under-20s are your way into this main national team.
We have more voicemails, and you've moved us along. But let's talk U23s, and maybe we'll come back to the voicemails if we have time. We will go down this roster. I mean, I think it's important. I've got the whole thing here. Do you want to hear the whole thing, or do we want to just talk about German kids?
Let's just say one thing. German players are a theme right now across all levels of the U.S. national team.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And U.S. under-23s are no different.
No, I mean in the senior roster, Fabian Johnson, Jermaine Jones, Timothy Chandler, Danny Williams. Am I missing anybody? Alfredo Morales, sorry, that's 5.
Yeah.
In the U23 camp. Now, this is a camp. This isn't a roster. This is 31 guys, I think, if my count is right. So it's bigger.
31. It's both a U20 and a U23 camp.
Right. Tom Ramos and Claudio Reyna will be in Germany. Caleb Porter will be with Akron, hopefully getting reports. There may be a chance we can find out directly from Caleb Porter if how it's going to work. But you've got a bunch of, and it's in Germany. So either they put it in Germany, knowing they were going to call in all these kids, I mean,
it's like you remember, like in the 80s, New Jersey was the hotbed of American soccer. You had Tab Brown coming out, John Harkes. You had all sorts of players coming out of New Jersey. In the 90s and early part of the 21st century, Southern California was it. Everywhere, every player was coming from Southern California. Germany is the new Southern California.
Right, and I think somebody did a count. If you did it, usually you talk about rosters and you do it by state. There are 6 German American kids in this U23 camp. I think California's next with 5. So it tells
it's the 51st
you,
state.
Yeah, at this point we're talking about a serious impact. Terrence Boyd, Anthony Brooks. He's not listed as John Anthony Brooks, just Anthony Brooks on the roster. Let's see, who am I? I'm going down the list. Royal Dominique Fennell. We talked about him. He is a defender. I don't know that we mentioned that last
Jerome
time.
Kiesewetter.
Jerome Kiesewetter. You might be right. Kiesewetter. Who else?
Tyrone McCargo.
Right, Andrew Wooten.
And then you also have Andrew Wooten.
Yeah. So I mean, there are hometowns here. I should probably just
And if you're not German, playing in Germany seems to help you as well, because you have Agbasamunde guy get called in.
Right.
You have Bobby Wood getting called in, who plays for 1860 Munich. Caleb Stanko. Honestly, if you have anything to do with German, hell, if you like sausage, you have a chance to be in the U.S. national team.
And then there's another guy who is not in this camp that everybody's excited about. Fabian Hertzler, say it that way. I have no idea, but let's just say Fabian Hertzler, who is Bayern Munich product, who
it's only 17 or something like that. Or how old young is he?
93. So do the math. I mean, he's 18 at this point. So he's in the Bayern Munich second team or whatever their structure is. And he's a guy that didn't get called in. But
Caleb Puller threw one out there for the fanboys. Josh Gatt.
Okay, but he's not gonna train. He's just going to go because they're mixing him in with this group. But he is still hurt, so he's not going to train. But no, he's there. I mean, that's a good thing. That's something something we can point to.
Why you got to kill my fanboy love?
I'm not. I'm just saying. So I mean, overall, this is exciting. I mean, I'm not gonna poo-poo the German influence. It's fantastic that we have all these guys that are eligible. I'd like to see the Americans do well too. I mean, not to imply they're less American.
How long before that becomes the main talking point?
The German influence on this team?
Yeah, well, at what point do we start having to question the American product and whether or not we're embracing the youth system in America?
The thing you would worry about, and I'm not saying this is happening now, and I don't know that it would happen for ever, but the thing you might worry about is that people in U.S. soccer start leaning towards those kids over Americans, and it's subjective. It's hard to evaluate 2 different kids playing in 2 different environments.
That's kind of rough too. We're also saying they're not Americans. We got to be careful with that.
No, they're Americans. Did I imply that they're not? No, they are Americans. But what I'm saying is, kids that are developed in the United States versus kids developed in Germany. If you start deferring to the fact that they're developed in Germany, even though they might appear to be of equal caliber, I mean, what do you do? Flip a coin? Do you take the German American kid because he grew up in a better soccer culture? I mean, these are difficult, tough. Nobody really wants to touch them questions. All we want right now is for the Olympic team to be really good and the national team to get better because of these guys. That's it. That's
I will take a short-term reliance on the German product if it means raising the profile, raising the stakes, and raising the caliber of the national team in the short term.
I think I'm with you on that. And I'm excited to see what the Olympic team looks like. We should mention this, by the way. A guy who would be in the Olympic mix, he probably wouldn't be in this camp, but a guy who'd be in the Olympic mix that isn't is CJ Sapong, who is 3 days too old to qualify for the Olympic team.
I mean, what? His mom couldn't take a walk around the block?
Well, he could. Here's the thing, though. He could play as an overage player. It'd just be really weird to take a guy 3 years.
That's the least sexy overage player ever.
No. I'm not saying it'll actually happen. I just think that would be kind of funny in a way.
You got to think, too, the overage players are probably pretty much locked in. You're going to take a keeper most likely. Even though Sean Johnson is on this roster. Sean Johnson is no slouch.
No.
Very good MLS caliber goalkeeper. Maybe you can not take Tim Howard. Maybe you can risk it, but normally in history past,
and there are guys
that kind of goes to that.
There are guys in the full national team setup who would normally be in this mix, and Juan Agudelo is neither on the senior team roster or in this camp. I don't know what's going on with him.
I'm not sure he's on New York's roster.
He's not. Very good. Very good. Point to the gentleman from California. That's nice. And then watch him play tonight. And both of us be wrong.
I know, huh?
I'm guessing rosters are just about to come out for that game, so it's possible he's not going to start. He's not going to start. No, he's not going to start. All right. So briefly, actually, no. Let's go ahead. Let's take a break. Let's finish this up. We'll come back. We'll close out the show. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Jason Jared, Best Soccer Show. We're back to close this one out. November 3rd, 2011 is the date. It is MLS playoff time, but quickly, we've got a voicemail. One more voicemail I wanted to play about Klinsmann and his selection. So let's do that now. Jared and I, we can talk about it when it's done. All right, you ready? Ready? All right, let's go.
Hey, Jason and Jared. I love the show. This is Bill, or Ekbalong on Twitter. I have to say, when I saw Jurgen Klinsmann's roster today, I'm now officially concerned about player selection. Was he watching the Galaxy Red Bulls playoff game? And if so, how can he not call in Omar Gonzalez? In addition to the Herculez Gomez question, I just don't understand why he keeps calling in Michael Roscoe Fiscal, which, by the way, why did he start suddenly using his second surname a year ago? That was weird. He used to just be Michael Roscoe. Anyway, how can he call in him and Robbie Rogers, but not Herculez Gomez and Omar Gonzalez? I think this is officially a problem. Klinsmann has had enough games. I'm really starting to wonder if he's already picked his favorites and isn't considering other options. Anyway, love the show. Keep up the good work.
I think that's where most people are at right now. Everybody's concerned, and look.
Bob Bradley had his favorites, but I think it took him much longer to get there, didn't it?
Well, he burned through a ton of guys. Bob Bradley called in a lot of guys.
I think didn't he cap more players than any other national team coach before
I believe
him?
That's correct, and that's the thing. That's what you want to see here from Klinsmann. Go through the pool. Two guys.
3 years out.
Here's two guys we
3
haven't.
years.
Here's two guys we haven't mentioned at all that should at least be getting a look. Benny Feilhaber, for one. I mean, I know New England was bad, and I was a little down on him, but I keep hearing his name. People are convinced, and I think it'd be worth a shot. I mean, I certainly know Benny can play. And Sasha Kljestan, who by everybody's appreciation of what he's doing in Belgium, is off the charts good right now in that league. So how can, again, guys that deserve it, how can they not be getting a shot? I mean, neither one of us are sold on Kljestan. I'm sorry. Let me just jump in. Neither one of us are completely sold on Kljestan, but I'm not watching Anderlecht. Maybe he has gotten that much better.
Not only am I not sold on Sasha Kljestan, I'm just a hater in general when it comes to him. But honestly, Sasha Kljestan strikes me as the type of dude that does the double pray hands move. You know the double pray hands move, like thanks people by going like this. When people come out and talk shows, it's the ultimate douche move. It's the ultimate douche move. You come out, it's like, oh, I'm humbled by your applause. Thank you for the double pray
strangest non sequiturs. Chris Rolfe is another guy that has been talked up recently and is scoring goals in Denmark. Danish Player of the Week, recent. I'm not sure when they give that out, what day of the week they give it out, but he's been in the very recent past Danish Player of the Week. So these are just guys that deserve a shot, or at least. If you're going to develop a group of players that will take you through qualification, you have to go through more than a handful and say, I don't know. That's the thing. It does seem like he's got favorites already. He shouldn't have favorites.
I'm pretty certain Rolf is a German last name too. The guy should have his one foot in the door already.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right, we have to mention here.
We can't get away before we talk about something going on in your backyard.
Yeah. This has come up last couple of days, and it's set the DC area fan base into an absolute furor. How do you say that word?
Fervor.
Furor. Whatever. Furor. No, I don't know. the survey, and if you haven't heard about this, MLS sends out a survey, and I think it's hard to pin down because everybody went nuts. It was sent out to Baltimore area fans, I guess, that are in the MLS database. Their email addresses are in the MLS database. They sent them a survey that asked them a bunch of questions. I have it here. It takes a little while to get through the first couple of questions, but it gets to the point basically that says, if there was a team in a specific section of Baltimore, the Westport area of Baltimore, would you, here it is, assume that a new MLS team were to begin playing in a new soccer-specific stadium in the Westport area of Baltimore, how likely would you be to follow this team? So definitely, maybe, won't, whatever.
Was hell no an option?
Definitely would not follow is the worst you can say. So,
hell no.
How many games would you go to if there was one? And it's bolded, Westport area of Baltimore. Now, remember, this is the area of Baltimore where there has been speculative conversations about putting a soccer stadium. And if there's anybody who is a candidate to use a soccer stadium in Baltimore, it would be DC United. So, of course, the DC United fan base, here's the part I don't get. Why would MLS be so transparent to just send this out there? I mean, they put other clubs' names on here, too. That's bound to piss off those fans, even if they don't think they're moving. Columbus and New York and Philly and Dallas. I mean, Dallas, you can kind of understand. They're not moving, though. As long as there's a stadium there. Go ahead.
Can I be ignorant for a second?
Go ahead.
I live on the West Coast. My geography is like about as good as what my local area can get me.
All right, here we go.
Now,
here we go. Go ahead. Say it. Go ahead.
Baltimore.
Go ahead.
Baltimore and DC.
Go ahead.
What is the distance there? Like, how far is that? I mean, I don't really know. Like, in Westport, Baltimore, I don't even know
Westport
these places.
Westport is just a little tiny section of Baltimore. 40 miles is the distance from D.C. to Baltimore.
Oh, my God. That's the distance from Dallas to Pizza Hut Park, for God's sakes.
Okay, exactly. But it's still you don't think that it matters? You think people in D.C. that are D.C. United fans that live in Northern Virginia, which is farther away from Baltimore than 40 miles, do you think those people should just suck it up and say, you know what, my team's moved. There's no stadium in D.C. We've got to go up to Baltimore to watch the games, and they're going to change the name of my team to Baltimore whatever? I should just suck that up?
You're making up stories.
No, I'm
asking
asking you.
They would change the name.
What? Of course they would change the name.
You could just go by DCU.
I don't know.
No.
You expect the city of Baltimore and the Maryland Stadium Authority and they have to be involved. You expect them to build a stadium in Baltimore and then let the team stay DC United or DCU or whatever.
I mean, it could be literally. It has the word United in the name. How do you think United came about? People united the teams in various geographic locations.
You're starting to piss me off, which means you're going to piss off all of the DC United fans that are listening to this show. But
here's a question.
It would be a crime. Look, I'm sorry.
DC.
It would be a crime to move them. I realize that it's bad in DC and there is no stadium.
It's a crime to keep them in that stadium.
It's not a crime to keep them in the stadium. Obviously it's a money loser if you keep them in that stadium. So unless the the District of Columbia lowers the rent and makes it more feasible for DC to make some money out of this, or at least break even, then you're right. It's probably wrong to keep them there. It's just
okay.
You can't go about it this way. This is ham-fisted. This is fumbling around in the dark for a date. You can't just do it this way and expect no one to notice and to no one to get upset. You can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, maybe you need the data, I guess, but really, does that justify
this? Would you rather
this?
treat it to a point where you keep putting things in a bad situation? It gets to a point where you alienate the fan base altogether.
No,
I mean, that's the other risk.
I'm just saying, do you really think that this survey is going to give MLS any real idea of whether or not a team would be successful in Baltimore? Do you think so?
No, not at all.
Okay, so why do it?
There's some marketing person with a BA or a master's degree in marketing that thinks that this is how you go about making these decisions.
And it's not. It's just not. All right, we got to close this shop up. Go to iTunes, give us reviews and ratings. Send us email, bestsoccershow@nasn.tv. Follow us on Twitter, Best Soccer Show. Jared, what else do we have for the people to know?
Sunday, we're going to have a updated kind of update on the bracket contest we have going on right now. We may not, depending on how many people are leading, we may not mention all the names. We'll at least tell you about how many people it's down to see how many people have been eliminated already mathematically. But we'll have some kind of update for you on Sunday about your MLS playoff act.
I know I can't win the prize, but I'm definitely not in the top tier of that.
No, I don't think I am either.
I've dropped so low. All right, that's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Sunday. Bye.